Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Hannah and I typically don't do this kind of content, but my husband and I are on our way up to Salem, Massachusetts, and I thought I'd provide some tips and tricks on what we found while we were there. If this is your first time going up to Salem, I thought this would be a very helpful video. There's so much to do in Salem and so much to see, so I highly recommend making a list, whether that's going on Pinterest, YouTube, or even TikTok. Gather up all the places that you want to go to and make a list. Then I recommend doing research. I personally read The Six Women of Salem. I thought it was a great book. It was a little hard to comprehend at first for me, but I also was told to watch Salem Witch Trials with Christy Alley, and this was a very good movie as well. If you're going to Salem this time of year, please make reservations. Everything is so crowded and busy. Definitely make reservations as much as possible. So this is the week of the 20th, and I looked up some of the most popular restaurants in Salem, and there were still quite a few reservations available. So if you want to go to the Ledger or Rockefeller's, there's still plenty of seating available at some of these restaurants. When it comes to accommodations, I highly recommend checking out the local towns around Salem. We stayed in Marblehead, which was gorgeous, and it was only about 15-minute drive from downtown Salem. So if you cannot find anything in Salem, there's definitely places in Peabody, Marblehead, and the local areas. You can also take a train from Boston into Salem. It's a 4-stop train ride, about 30 minutes, and approximately $16 round trip. So that is a option for you too. So we are on our way to our Airbnb in Marblehead, which is roughly 15 minutes depending on traffic. Over here, I just want to point out on a side note, is the post office, the Salem post office, and keep that in mind for later on in the video. I want to give a tip about that place, but we decided to go with Marblehead because it was a little bit cheaper. We also have our dogs with us, so we were able to find a pet-friendly Airbnb. As you can see, Marblehead is just south of Salem, and it is gorgeous. Marblehead is also where there was some filming sites for Hubie Halloween with Adam Sandler. So I don't know if you're familiar with that movie. If you're looking for a family-friendly movie, I highly recommend checking out Hubie Halloween. It's on Netflix. And it's a very historical fishing town. You'll see a lot of old sailor homes, fishermen homes, captains' homes. It's very beautiful down there. Very safe, very family friendly, and everything was very walkable down there as well once we got into Marblehead. Our Airbnb was located directly across from Abbott Hall, which can also be seen in Hubie Halloween. After we got our pups settled into the Airbnb, we made our way back downtown to Salem, and we had reservations over at the Ledger. Also, we were taking a trolley tour around town. One thing that can be a stressor is parking. So as you can see, there's ample parking right now. However, during the busy season such as October, parking is hard to find. There are parking garages as well as parking lots available, as well as side streets for people to park at. My best tip is to park early and stay there and walk around town. Salem is a very walkable city. In October, the weekends for parking is $40 a day. So I do want to try to mention prices because Salem can be a little pricey for those of us that are on a budget. The nice thing about Salem, there is a yellow line that'll take you to most of the historical spots. Here we are at the Ledger. This was a old bank that was converted into a restaurant. It's a beautiful atmosphere in here. We got our seats right away because we had reservations, but just as a tip, if you are unable to get a seat right away, highly recommend checking the bar. Usually there's a seat or two available and you can grab a cocktail until you are ready to be seated. Now, we took the trolley tour. This was the Tales and Tombstones tour. This is only available Thursday through Sunday. I will leave a link below if you want to book the tour, but it's a great way to see things in town, so you know how to map things out for your next day. After the trolley tour, we decided to head over to the Bit Bar for a nightcap and play some games. We didn't stay out too late because we wanted to start out our morning early, but this was a great place to play some retro games, lots of pinball machines, great atmosphere, and great drinks. Now they say the early bird gets the worm, so we started our day out very early, approximately 7:30 in the morning, and I'm glad we did. Our first stop was over at Danny and Max's house. This is a private residence, so please do not go up to the house, but as you can see, there was nobody in sight, and it was really a beautiful, beautiful setting, and it was so cool to see one of the sights from Hocus Pocus. Now, after seeing the house, we made our way back downtown Salem, and we parked over by the Witch City Mall, which has the parking lot there that's centrally located. In my opinion, it was the best parking spot for us. And just to keep in mind here, these spots fill up fast. So once you get a spot, you really want to stay there as long as possible. And the city is very walkable. Another thing I want to point out is it seems like there's limited bathrooms. Although they put out porta potties, I will go ahead and provide this QR code at the description box down below. So we were walking around downtown and we got to see the Bewitched statue, and then we made our way over to the witch's house. The witch's house used to belong to Judge Jonathan Corbin, who was one of the judges during the trials. Many of these historic homes have QR codes provided by the Peabody Essex Museum, so you can scan your phone and hear historical information about these sites. So as we were touring these sites, there were hardly any people around. So we really got to enjoy the federal and Georgian style homes and just learn about the history of them, listening to the QR codes posted on the homes. New England is filled with so many cemeteries. Although we were there at a not so busy time, I was really shocked to see how many disrespectful people there were. When I say disrespectful, I mean people were walking off the paths and they were sitting on the headstones. I even saw someone urinating on a tree in the cemetery. So it was just really disappointing how people's characters were. So this is Charter Street Cemetery, and this is where the Salem Witch Trial Memorial is. So at this point, we are about 10 a.m. into our day, and we decided to go over to the Hawthorne Hotel for some mimosas and Bloody Marys just to kill some time before our Witch Museum reservation. Just a tip, if you are a guest or a patron at the Hawthorne Hotel, there is free coffee in the lobby as well as clean bathrooms. So I just want to mention the bathrooms in the town are not the best. Now, for those of you that personally know me, I am a bit on the frugal side and I do not go out very often. So I was a little bit sticker shocked when our Bloody Mary and mimosa came out to $26 before tax. Ouch. But I realized that this is a city that relies on tourism. So just be prepared. You will be spending a little bit of money whenever you come into town. Another thing I want to mention is to enjoy the decorations. This is the spooky season where everybody likes to decorate their outdoors. When I say bring supplies, I'm referring to maybe a bottle of water, a little snack. October is so busy, sometimes you can't get into the cafes and you don't want to be hungry. Also, I recommend bringing a couple sheets of toilet paper in case the porta potties run out. Set alarms because while we were in line at the Witches Museum, somebody came running up and they were an hour late for their reservation. So please keep in mind when it's October, you're set for a certain time and you can't change it usually. Now, fun fact, the Witches Museum used to be a church and then it was converted into a car museum, and now it is the Salem Witch Museum, as you can see. This was a great museum. It really coincided with the Witches of Salem movie that I had mentioned earlier with Christy Alley. I would say if you needed to cut costs and you watched the movie, you didn't necessarily have to go into the museum. It was very short. It was still a great experience. It's a high tourist attraction in Salem, so I do recommend it. But if you are trying to budget, maybe you want to put this one off. We had about an hour to kill before our next stop, so we stopped over at Black Craft Cult. There's a store as well as a coffee shop. The coffee shop's very, very small, but it's a great experience to go into the store, so I highly recommend it. From there, we headed over to Pioneer Village, which is actually outside of downtown Salem. And this was only $5. It was really cool to see how the old homes used to look like, how the village of Salem used to look like. This was also where they shot some scenes from Hocus Pocus, too. Nearby Pioneer Village was the Ye Old Pepper Company. It's actually one of the oldest candy shops. So we got to take a look at that. It is a little tight in there and it is not handicap friendly. I did see a woman try to go in a wheelchair, so my husband actually helped them try to get into the door. It's pretty tight and you have to know what you want ahead of time because the line moves really fast in there. From the candy shop, we had a reservation over at Finn's Seafood and Grill. We had high expectations from all the great reviews that we've heard, but unfortunately, this was not our favorite restaurant. It was good, very good, just not our favorite. I had the salmon, and my husband had the lobster roll. Again, not his favorite lobster roll on our trip, so there you have it. Nearby are a bunch of cute little shops. The Partridge in a Pear Tree is a great store I highly recommend checking out. It had a bunch of cute little knickknacks as well as a lot of Christmas decor. So if you're into that type of stuff, I really recommend checking this store out. For me, I got a few postcards and I'll show you what I've done with them at the end. If you can, definitely talk to all the shop owners, waitresses, servers, any local person in town, and they can give you a plethora of insight information and sometimes some tips and tricks and free treats. We got free drinks at one place and a free dessert at another place. This shop owner actually told us about some stamps that I'll show later on. After we finished up at the Partridge in a Pear Tree, we headed back towards Marblehead and stopped at Old Burial Point Cemetery. This is the cemetery where Max is encountered by Jay and Ice. Now, I won't show you exactly where that scene is, but you will see it in this clip. Unfortunately, right after we got there, there were a group of ladies and they were climbing all over the tombstones just to get that perfect picture. So it was really disappointing to see them on there. These are private, so it was disappointing to see people do that, but this is the cemetery. Many of these cemeteries in town are closed at nightfall, so please keep that in mind. But as I mentioned previously, Marblehead is a or was a fishing town, so it's really really beautiful over here. There's a lot of parks, so you can bring, and it's very dog friendly. So as long as your dog is leashed, you can bring them around to the parks, set up a picnic, watch the boats come in. It's really a gorgeous area. As I mentioned earlier, we stayed across the street from Abbott Hall. This clock tower was seen in Hubie Halloween. And Abbott Hall has a really nice small museum available with a lot of artifacts. It was free. And this museum also houses the Spirit of 76. So if you're a little bit nosy like I am, I'm always curious to see what some of these older homes look like. This is our Airbnb. Now this is actually a newer home. This was actually built in 1910 and the surrounding homes were more in the 17, 1800s. There are so many beautiful details in this home, so I'll take you on a walkthrough. This is the entryway, and we head on the left just past the kitchen and dining area. This is a full bathroom down here. It's filled with gorgeous wood. The woodwork is phenomenal. Over here we have the living room and a small office space. So as you can see, the dining area right there. Take a peek into the living room. Now this Airbnb is pet friendly, but I will not be listing it just because it was very tidy, but I'll just leave it at that. It was tidy, but not clean. Okay, so now we are on the second floor and there's 2 bedrooms over here. And then a full bathroom. And right here, this white thing is a pantry. And we are going up on the 3rd floor, which was probably an attic at one point, and they converted it over into another bedroom. The cool thing about this room is you can see Abbott Hall right across. So after I took my pups out for a walk, my husband and I headed over to Proctor's Ledge. Now Proctor's Ledge is where they hung the accused. And there were 19 hung and 1 crushed, so their names are listed over here. And we were talking to a local person, and the reason why it's called Proctor's Ledge is John Proctor, which was one of the ones that were hung. His family actually owned this land. So I did link a video in the description box that had some details of the archaeologists that discovered this area in 2010. This is very easily accessible. There is a pharmacy right down the street where you can park. So there's plenty of parking over here. Early on in my video, I did mention the post office in Salem. So the postcards that I purchased over at the Partridge in a Bare Tree, I will be taking those over to the post office because you can get a really cool imprint stamp on your mail. And this is what it looks like. You just ask the postal clerk at the counter and they'll go ahead and provide you with the stamp on your package. Next, we headed over to Turner's Seafood. Now, fun fact, the location where Turner's Seafood is where Bridget Bishop used to live. So when I say to look up the history before coming to Salem, there's so many names, they echo the town, so it's really important to know the accused. So 2 of our favorite restaurants were Ledger as well as Turner's. They had great service, great food, great portion size. I highly recommend them. My husband was raving over the lobster bisque. Another thing that we also want to recommend is enjoy a lot of the free activities. There was a band playing over here at East Regiment Beer Company. They have great beers. Again, be cautious of the pricing. It was $13 a pint, so I'm not used to that. So it's a little bit of a sticker shock for me, but I understand this is a touristy area. So the last tip that I have is if you have the time and availability, take the train into Boston. Boston is one of my favorite cities. It's very historic, family friendly, lots of great restaurants, so much fun. It's only 4 stops away and it's about $16 round trip from Salem. Thank you so much for your time today and watching my video. I hope you all have a great trip to Salem, and leave some comments down below. Thank you.